NIO CEO just gave the biggest update for the sub-brand ever, and it's going to be postponed? What? And that's actually a genius strategy. Let me explain. So on the 14th, the CEO was out answering questions to the media, and he talked about the sub-brand and gave a critical update. And this is what we all wanted to hear. So he said that the sub-brand car is going to target the family market. Big, spacious interior, and then have 冰箱彩电大沙发, which is basically fridge, comfortable sofa, and also big screens, and then single motor, good range, and low cost of usage. Everything that the customers want, and they're going to launch directly. And there's going to be 3 cars, all right, 3 cars for the sub-brand, and they're going to put all their effort in these 3 cars, and that's going to be the mass market cars that everyone is going to want. Now, this is the also very interesting thing. He talked about how the VB car is already ready, and usually with the main brand, if that's ready, then they're very close to launch. But he said they're actually not going to launch it right away. He said that they're deciding to take things one step at a time and take things slow and take a more of a wait and see approach. And his strategy is wait for the market and let the market, compete more. And the word is juan, which means like this car comes out with super killer specs and another one comes out cheaper price, even more killer specs, and a lot of these back and forth undercutting each other. And then NIO's gonna come in with the sub-brand and quote unquote, this is what he said, 翻桌子, flip the table. All right, so you know for a fact that this car is gonna be a killer car. It's gonna flip the table, man. So that's what we all want to hear. Yes, flip the table, man. Finally, yeah, flip those tables. And finally, we're not gonna see 1 but 3 products that's going to be volume drivers. These are gonna be ones that sell a lot. So that's gonna be very good in terms of the delivery front in the upcoming few years when the car finally gets launched. I mean, I think we can easily see right now the main brand around 12,000 to 15,000 deliveries, steady around 10,000. But I think the sub-brand could itself get maybe 20,000 deliveries per month. Very optimistic, all right? I am very optimistic, but that's just what it is. They're targeting everything that the consumer wants. That's the key strategy here. Everything that they want. They did market research. Everything that they could possibly want, we're going to give it to them. Then that's what he said. So this is very, very smart. And I think investors have been concerned that the CEO doesn't know what people want. And there's even some people that asked him, why didn't you build an EREV, an extended range vehicle, electric vehicle? Because, a lot of competitors or colleagues are building those vehicles and they're seeing a lot of success. And his answer was the cost of building that is enough to build upwards of 5,000 swap stations.
一个增程如果是高端车的话，你准备了2万5、3万块吧。如果是50万辆车，能补5000多万电站，你觉得哪个合算？这是不同的一个事项。
Yeah. So that's a pretty dramatic amount. Obviously, you can tell he doesn't really have EREV in mind. It's just a transition product for him. But the fact that the sub-brand is going to get postponed, essentially pushed back until, the entire auto market sort of takes shape and settles. All this huge competition under price cuts and everything. Once the fog has settled, the dust has settled, then you see the winners and the losers, and then you want to go undercut them and flip the table. That's the strategy. But I kind of disagree, because I think, NIO's situation is they're losing a lot of money. Right? They're losing a lot of money. They have a lot of money, yes. They're also losing a lot of money. They need the sub-brand now more than ever, I think. And even though I agree that, you shouldn't really rush to get this thing out there and then, just to be undercut by somebody else, that would be a big disappointment. You want to have a killer product that stays as a killer product. So, yes, I tend to agree, but I think they should launch the car immediately, as soon as possible, because, the market is shifting. conditions are shifting, and investors want to see deliveries. They want to see deliveries. We all want to see deliveries, and lost time is very expensive because NIO is burning a lot of money every quarter. Would you agree with me on that? They're burning a lot of money every quarter, and every quarter that they delay this by, then that's potentially maybe 400 or 500 million in losses that are just, that could have been avoided if you had the sub-brand out. And maybe if you had the sub-brand out and that sells a ton, then that might mitigate the losses or maybe even make it profitable. All right. But I think right now everything really hinders on the sub-brand. And no matter what NIO launches, it's going to be very cool. The ET9, yes, going to get a lot of attention, definitely a lot of attention. First Maybach, quality Maybach car from China, EV as well, that is actually worthy of a Maybach competitor, that somebody that buys a Maybach might actually consider. So that would get a lot of trendiness, a lot of attention. People might rush in to buy NIOs because of the brand status. But I think to actually get the massive amount of deliveries that Tesla is getting, that BYD is getting, we need the sub-brand. And we need the sub-brand to not falter, to not fail. And the strategy right now, it seems they're not going to incorporate the sub-brand car into the main brand. It's going to be its own individual brand. Of course, we all wanted, and for a while there were rumors that NIO was going to keep the sub-brand car in the NIO main brand. And that, of course, a lot of people, even former NIO employees, former NIO management, have said that it's better if NIO just did that option, keeping it in the main brand. They would get much more sales if they launched an ET3 or ET2 or ES3, rather than having a separate brand. Imagine if Tesla launched another brand and launched the cars under that brand. I mean, will it be successful? Maybe, maybe not. All right. So that's the thing. It really hinders a lot on the brand, the new brand, and people recognizing this brand. People recognize NIO, but do people recognize the sub-brand? Well, we won't know for sure, right? So we'll have to see how that goes. For me personally, I was very confident that if NIO launched those cars under NIO's main brand, it's going to sell fantastic well as ET3 or ES3. But if they launch it as a separate individual brand, there's going to be more brand awareness to build. People will be, first of all, they don't know this brand. They might be skeptical about it. And that might cause people to not buy the car, right? So a lot of things to consider. Very mixed feelings about this, But it seems like it is 100% going to be its own individual brand with 3 cars. They're not going to share the same sales infrastructure, so they got to train new sales reps. And they will share some of the service infrastructure, though. So that's very interesting. But who knows? Maybe the sub-brand is going to be even more successful than NIO. And by the way, the sub-brand is not going to be called Alps. He said that. It was a code name. The code name was Alps. At first, they were going to name it Everest, but Everest was like, a bit too up there, right? Too up there. So they changed the name to something a bit more reachable, which they called it Alps. The interior code name, all right? But the actual brand name is not going to be called Alps. It's going to be called something else. And he said it's 接地气, which means like it's a very good name, all right? So we'll have to see what the sub-brand name is called. We don't know what it's called yet. So we can't even tell if it's going to be like a good brand or not. But hopefully, there's a lot of recognition. The worst case scenario is nobody cares about this brand and people don't know about this brand. Brand awareness isn't there and it doesn't sell. That would be pretty bad, I think. But I'm optimistic that won't happen, all right? They should have just launched it as a NIO brand. I mean, like, they have 8 cars under the NIO brand, but to make sure it stays luxurious, they're not going to launch a cheap car. It doesn't really make sense, to me at least. But we'll have to see how it goes. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.